Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to peek inside the minds of some of the world's most successful innovators. We're going to break down how they spot those game-changing opportunities that for whatever reason, almost everyone else just completely misses. So let's just dive right in with this one single question from the venture capitalist Peter Thiel. Now, he uses this as his ultimate filter. Why? Because he believes the answer is the key to finding a truly breakthrough idea. And listen, this isn't some trick question. It's a real test of whether you can think for yourself. And that really is the heart of it, isn't it? The goal isn't just to be different for the sake of being different. Nope. It's to be correct when nobody else is. And it takes some serious courage to stand by an idea that feels unpopular, especially when the rest of the world is running in the opposite direction. So, in this explainer, we're going to look at this through three different lenses. First, we'll get into that core contrarian mindset. Then we'll explore some really practical tactics for finding those hidden gems. And finally, we'll talk about what it actually takes to bring those ideas into the real world. All right, first up, the contrarian question. Let's really get into Peter Thiel's core framework for how progress happens, because it is all built on this one powerful way of thinking. So Thiel says, look, there are really only two ways we make progress. The first is what he calls technology, or going from 0 to 1. This is vertical progress, inventing something totally new, like the very first personal computer. And the second is globalization, or going from 1 to N. This is more horizontal, just copying things that already work, like taking a successful coffee shop chain and opening a new one in another city. And the ultimate prize for that 0 to 1 thinking, it's discovering what he calls a secret, a really important truth that almost no one else has figured out yet. A truly great company, he says, is built around one of these secrets. It allows them to create something so unique, so valuable, that it basically becomes a monopoly. And that whole search for a secret leads us right to Thiel's biggest, and let's be honest, his most controversial idea, that the goal is to build a monopoly. Okay, so this is a really contrarian idea, right? I mean, everything we learned in school tells us competition is good, but Thiel sees it as a trap, a brutal fight that just chews up profits and makes everyone focus on their rivals instead of innovating. For him, a monopoly isn't about being evil and crushing everyone. It's about creating something so good that you don't have any direct competitors. And that freedom is what lets you think about the future. So how do you know if you're onto one of these monopoly potential ideas? Well, Thiel has a checklist of 7 questions you have to answer. For instance, he asks, are you starting with a big share of a small market? Which is so smart, right? It's way easier to dominate a tiny niche first and then expand. And of course, the big one at the end. Have you identified a unique opportunity that others don't see? That all-important secret. But Thiel's playbook, it's not the only game in town. Not by a long shot. So let's shift gears and look at another legend, Warren Buffett. He has a completely different, but just as powerful, way of being a contrarian. And for him, it's all about patience, not disruption. Warren Buffett's whole philosophy is less about trying to invent the future and more about just mastering basic human psychology. It's all about having the discipline to zig when everyone else is zagging, to buy when people are panicking, and to be really cautious when everyone's getting a little too excited. So instead of looking for a secret, Buffett is on the hunt for businesses that have an economic moat. And that's exactly what it sounds like. It's a powerful, sustainable advantage, like a famous brand, or a huge network of users, or just being the cheapest, that protects a company from its rivals. It's basically finding the castles that can survive any attack for decades. And here's where you really see the difference in how they think. Buffett is a value investor. He wants to buy wonderful, durable companies for less than their worth. Thiel, on the other hand, is a venture investor. He's making big bets on companies that have the potential for explosive, world-changing growth. He knows that most will fail, but that one huge winner can make up for all the losses and then some. So we've got these two really powerful contrarian mindsets. But okay, how do you actually find these kinds of opportunities out in the real world? Let's get into some practical tools you can use. One of the most important skills is learning how to spot what are called weak signals. You can think of these like the tiny tremors you feel just before a huge earthquake. They're these subtle little clues that most people are ignoring, but they hint that a really big change is on its way. And the perfect story for this is, of course, Netflix versus Blockbuster. Netflix saw DVDs by mail and that clunky early streaming as a weak signal, a little hint of where media was going, and they bet their entire company on it. Blockbuster, they saw the exact same signal, but they brushed it off as just a small niche thing. They were too focused on protecting their stores, and, well, we all know how that story ended. Okay, another really powerful tool is something called white space analysis. This is basically a systematic way of mapping out an entire market to find the gaps, the real customer needs that nobody is taking care of right now. But here's the key. A great opportunity isn't just in any old gap. It's at the intersection of two things: a genuine need that people have, and a space that you can actually protect so you can build a real business there. Just finding a gap isn't enough. You've got to be able to own it. Now, finding that brilliant, game-changing idea, that's only half the battle. Seriously, the final piece of this whole playbook is about execution. More specifically, it's about how you get that idea out into the world. Because a great product by itself is just not enough. And Thiel is absolutely brutal on this point, but it's such an important lesson. A world-changing invention that just sits on a shelf is basically a failure. If you don't have an effective way to sell and distribute what you've made, you don't have a business, you have a hobby. And this idea is on steroids in the digital age. Distribution isn't just about trucks and stores anymore. It's about capturing attention. I mean, the golden rule of the creator economy applies to pretty much everyone now. Where attention goes, value and revenue will follow. And this has led to a really fascinating modern strategy that kind of flips all the old advice on its head. Instead of starting super small in a niche, some of the most successful people today are advocating for going as broad as you possibly can at first. Build a massive audience, get known for something, and only then do you niche down to actually monetize that attention. So, at the end of the day, whether you're trying to build a Thiel-style monopoly, a Buffett-like moat, or a modern media empire, it all really boils down to two simple but incredibly powerful questions. What is your secret, and how are you going to tell the world?